working on this alternate universe known as the Living Pink AU for quite some time now, I think around a year or so. It's been fun, so we're gonna go through the crystal gems this time around since I haven't finished doing the homeworld gems just yet. At this point I do have the diamonds done as well, but I'm saving them to the very end because we're not gonna see them for a while. So we're starting with Pearl, who serves a fairly similar role as she does in canon. Within this universe are huge multitaskers. They serve pretty much any and all gem and are designed explicitly to serve whoever they need to, even rubies and quartz soldiers and stuff like that. In this universe, our Pearl actually serves rose quartz and not explicitly pink diamond. She's also not heavily infatuated with pink diamond like she is in canon. As for Amethyst, Amethyst got a really big rehaul in this universe because I didn't like her initial designs at first. So, in this AU, she actively learns her strengths and weaknesses as she popped out in the middle of the Gem War. However, she still has her own insecurities, primarily about being defective. However, she hides behind her artistry and her fashion in order to kind of make up for it. And because of what she learned, she ultimately uses a hammer, though she can work with long-range weapons like a bow and arrow or whip. Within the dynamic that she has with Steven, they're a lot like siblings, even closer than we initially saw them in the actual show. Will say, however, that her lace is a pain to fucking draw. It will probably stick around for this time, and it might stick around for the next few times, but it's not always the easiest to draw lace, or fishnets in this case. And as you can see, she's able to unhinge her jaw as well as just dislocate her joints, which she often uses to scare other people. But anyways, we're moving on to Garnet, who... This was one of the most difficult gems to give a concrete design. I was going through so many, as you can see from the sketch here. But I think the design I gave her, as of now, is the one that I like the most and will probably stick around for the longest, especially just considering how little we see Garnet poof. Now yes, I did move Garnet's gems. I've never liked the fact that her gems are on her hands, so I moved them to her shoulders instead. And if you're wondering about some aspects like the octopus hair as well as the little gill ears that she's got going on, within this universe, Blue Diamond's quartz specifically is very based on fish and is generally under the water. I'm not going to spoil it too much, but basically, the farther you go up the chain of the diamond hierarchy, the less and less human that the gems look underneath that diamond. In this case, pink diamond has the most human-looking gems, then comes yellow, then comes blue, and then there's white, who has the least human-looking gems whatsoever. And in this AU, she's an actual color changing Garnet, which makes the lines of Blue Diamond not knowing where to put her during the ball actually make a little bit more sense. It wouldn't be hugely noticeable in her designs, but the tips of her octopus hair would actually change color, as well as her eyes. And we will eventually see Ruby and Sapphire just gonna work out their designs. And now we're on to Rose Quartz, the lovely lady herself. In this AU, Rose Quartz is the actual right-hand gem of Pink Diamond, and serves as her closest confidant, and is actually a legit Rose Quartz. I will say she does have the personality of canon shy Rose Quartz, as we see in Steven Universe Future. But generally speaking, she's kind, she's nice, everybody loves her, and they were super sad to hear that she just disappeared one day without a trace. Though, as of later on, we actually do learn where she went. Instead of just disappearing like every other gem believed, she actually took the place as Steven's gem for Petzotate. We'll be hearing about Petzotate in just a few moments, but there was a very unique dynamic between Petzotate, Rose Quartz, and Greg in this universe. And ultimately we're going to talk about that when I finally decide to draw Greg and the other humans and everything. We're not going to talk about it now, but it makes for a nice talking point throughout the entirety of the story that we get to see. Also, I'm going to point this out because no one else is going to get it, but I remember actually finding a post while trying to look up shit for Rose's scabbard, and I ended up learning that Rose's scabbard and the, shaft thing that goes over it, which is on the rightmost side, doesn't actually make sense within the actual story, so I changed her sword a little bit to actually fit the proper, shield thing that goes on top of swords. But we're finally moving on to Petzotate. I think that's how you pronounce it. I have no fucking clue. I don't know how to pronounce some of the gems I actually choose. It sucks. But Petzotate in this universe is the main leader of the Crystal Gems, not Garnet in this case. She's very kind and loving and respectful, and it's just a joy to be around. She makes for a good leader. She was the one to ultimately lead the Crystal Gems into war against Homeworld and the Diamonds, and she did fairly good until the Corruption Blast occurred. And ultimately in this universe, Petzl Tate is the one with the shield as her ability rather than Rose with the scabbard. Anyways, we're moving on to Steven, who changed probably, I think, the most other than Amethyst within this universe. Steven is actually kind of based on another YouTuber's take on Steven and the entirety of his universe. That mainly being because he lives on a beach. It doesn't make sense for him to have, like, this really fair and light skin like he does in canon. That and his hair. Considering he lives on the beach where he'd get a noticeable tan, and he has what could be considered an afro, I like the idea of a main character who is a person of color, especially with the story that Steven Universe gives. I ultimately will change the older design because the design I gave him at the end is supposed to be him when he's 18, and I really don't think that he would wear that to college. I might switch around the lengths of his actual t-shirt and the varsity jacket. I'm not sure at this point. I gotta do some sketches for that. I will be keeping the varsity bag, however, and generally younger Steven's design is perfectly fine. I'm gonna keep that as is. In any case, Steven is still fun and bright and ready for adventure as always. And up next will be the Home World Gem, so see you then!